veterans still need service. The veteran still needs the service. So that's what I don't know.
Okay, thanks for that. Because it's the known knowns and the unknown unknowns, which we will get into. So thanks for sharing that, Lunithia. Next, we will have my fellow comrade, George Delaney.
So, hey, good morning, everyone. George Delaney here. 24-year service member in the Air Force. Had a chance to transition where I am doing defense work in the same career field that I was in before. I live in Leesburg, Virginia, and here's what I do know about COVID-19. I know that COVID-19 is personal to me. I have 2 family members that have COVID right now. I have family members who don't believe in the vaccine. I have people in my community who don't believe in the vaccine. And what I know is there's a lot of confusion around what COVID does and what it doesn't. And so my job is to make sure my immediate family is covered, but to also figure out what the facts are so I can help spread the word and help improve my community chances of fighting off COVID. Back over to you.
Yeah, thanks, George. Appreciate that. And we'll talk about some of the frustrations that we can have, especially when our immediate family members either don't believe in it, don't get vaccinated, or what have you. So that can be a frustrating situation. So thanks for sharing that, George. Next, we will have Commander Taylor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jerry Taylor, and I am the commander of Chapter 96, Southern Maryland. To be quite honest, guys, I know a lot more about viruses simply because I spent many years as a researcher with the U.S. military developing biological weapons of mass destruction. And so the scary part is the fact that the civilian population is not being educated about the life cycle of viruses. Once you know the life cycle and how to take a piece of that puzzle and realize that you take one piece out and it destroys the entire life cycle. And so I'm not afraid of it. I understand how it works. My biggest problem is the men and women that's exposed to it that are in uniform. How do we help them? Because they too, if they're not involved in biological chemical warfare, a lot of times they don't have the knowledge to protect themselves. In the military, believe it or not, they don't do a whole lot to educate you about the biological weapons, chemical weapons that we use, because yet at the same time, let me say this, COVID is not a biological weapon. It does not meet the standards for a biological weapon. A biological weapon has to have the capacity to kill 10 million people in 24 hours. COVID kills, but it kills too slowly. So it's not a biological weapon at this time. Maybe in another decade, it may become a biological weapon, but right now it's not. So I'm concentrating on making sure I protect myself and try to educate family members and everyone that's willing to listen. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that. Now we will move on to Ellsworth, Tony Williams.
Hello, guys. I'm a 24-year Army veteran, both enlisted and commissioned. My dad was in the military 20 years, so you know that the veterans is in my DNA. and I have I have a technical difficulty. So I had to change computers, all that kind of crap. It's all things all whacked up. But as you see, I'm the president and CEO of Veterans Council and Veterans. I stay at Tampa. I hope to expand out to more areas and become more of a national organization. So one of the things I learned about the COVID-19 and what is really interesting is that I'm part of American Legion, you know, so you know American Legion, like they're like 95% white, right? White males. And 5 people that I personally know, white males, and one's a female, caught COVID-19, and they were all vaccinated with different versions, from Moderna to Pfizer. And so I went to meet one of them in the hospital, one of our commanders, and what I learned is that the autoimmune system, so those who have underlying conditions like cancer and that kind of stuff, that it doesn't build your autoimmune system. So you think you're good, and you find you catch yourself. So that's one of the things there. Those who have cancer or other kind of transplants, that kind of stuff. That's why they're talking about the booster shot. They're talking about is that you need another shot to be vaccinated. So that's what I learned.
Hey, thanks, Tony. And you bring up a great point. Some of us are walking around thinking that we're good to go with both of our shots. We're like, out and about, still in these close quarters, when in fact we could still catch it. So something to keep in mind and something to pass on to others who may think that they're good to go. That is not the case. And now we will move on to Dale Dix.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dale Dix. I'm a retired Marine after 20 years in the Corps. Tony reminded me that my father was a military man as well, 26 years in the Air Force, and always urged me to, son, never join the Marine Corps. I couldn't wait to join the Marine Corps. So anyway, with regard to COVID, I've been vaccinated, and I'll tell you, I didn't want to be vaccinated. I don't like taking vaccinations, but I did it more so to protect those that I care about. I didn't want to be that person in the room that everyone else felt was not compliant, and so I did it more for that reason. I don't know nearly enough about COVID, therefore I'm open to learning more. I'm glad to have this conversation this morning because I'm hearing different perspectives and it's helpful. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Dale. And thanks for being transparent and vulnerable, saying, hey, look, I didn't really want to take it, but I took it to protect others. So I get that, and I can appreciate that. But as you can imagine, there's some people out there that are like, you know what, I don't want to take it. And I don't care if I'm in the same household as people who are pushing me to take it. I'm just not going to do it. So that can lead to frustration, stress, anxiety, disappointment, and a host of other negative feelings. So thanks for sharing that, Dale. Next, we will have Miss Anna Towns. You're on mute, Miss Anna.
Continue to be challenged with technology, but I'm happy to join you this morning. I am a member of the Montgomery County NAACP Veterans Committee, as well as a founding member of NABVETS in Montgomery County. We're looking forward to being able to announce our official start date. I am the surviving spouse of an Army veteran. My husband died in '84 of colon cancer. I am also a COVID survivor. I didn't have very serious symptoms, but I did get a positive diagnosis and in January of last year, but I'm doing fine now. My concern with COVID is that as time goes on, more and more people are relaxing about the importance of periodic testing and getting the vaccination. And I'm just so happy to be a part of the group that's really looking at ways that we can find, educate, and inform and make available COVID testing and vaccinations for veterans, as well as the broader Black community. So I'm happy to be a part of this organization and learning so much about COVID. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. You bring up a great point as well, the whole idea of periodic testing. Who wants to do that? Who wants this thing like it goes into your brain? It's not comfortable at all to get these COVID-19 tests. However, it's important.
Yes.
It's very important. So I'm glad that you brought that up. And Anna brings up a point about this whole program, the African American Health Project. It's a collaboration between Uplift Energy Coaching, Montgomery County's NAACP, Montgomery County's forthcoming NABVETS chapter, as well as some other programs as well. So it's all about increasing awareness, and that's what this call is all about, awareness. So thanks, Miss Anna. We will move over to Aura Crutchfield. Over.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Aura Crutchfield. I am the founder and program manager for Galilee Veterans, and our mission is to supply our veterans with the tools necessary for success, and that's in whatever level that they stand in need of. I am a daughter of a vet, a sister of a vet, and a wife of a veteran. And I'm just committed to doing what I can to support our vets. As far as COVID-19, I am definitely vaccinated. I got vaccinated early. I have underlying conditions and all that deals with respiratory. So it's sort of a no-brainer for myself. However, I have several family members that were very hesitant about taking the vaccine. And even to this day, I would say it's about 80% of my family members who have gotten it. I do have that 20% that's seemingly hardcore. My son, youngest child, happens to be one. He's in his 40s, early 40s. And even through, unfortunately, I have lost 3 nephews to COVID in the past. Well, this week I lost 2, and prior to this year, I lost another one. I have a son-in-law who contracted the virus, who everyone in his household who took the vaccine, my daughter and 4 of their children, they have 6. The oldest 4, who are teenagers from 14 to 19, did take the vaccine. And I was quite upset when I found out that he had caught it. You know, I've been on his case about it. And even his soon-to-be 12-year-old son had to talk to his dad. Look, as soon as it comes up, and I turn 12, Dad, in a couple of weeks, the end of September, actually, I'm getting my shot. He's like, it's a no-brainer. He's having this conversation with his dad. And it took him to contract the disease. And thank God he's doing well and he's recovering. But he said he doesn't know what was wrong with his brain for him not to do it in the beginning. And as soon as he recovers and they have cleared him to take it, he will. So I'm here to gather information, further information to support my veterans and family members, and give them a better insight of the drastic need of it. Our people are dying. And my thing is that I always say, follow the numbers don't lie, and follow the science. We have massive African Americans in particular who have perished from this. I've been to more funerals than my brain can even accept sometimes. So again, I just want to hear what more information we can share. Thank you.
I appreciate you sharing that, Aura. In terms of your family members, it's tough, and sometimes it takes a family member to catch it, to get sick from it, in order for it to wake people up. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Next, we will have Mr. Jesse Citizen.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I have retired Air Force, spent 32 years active duty. First few years were enlisted, then the remainder of the time was as an officer. I have 5 kids and 11 grandkids. My oldest son and his family of total 6 had COVID in October of 2020. So, and I saw them go through the illness. They had symptoms, but theirs was more flu-like symptoms. But it was tested, they were tested and then found that they had COVID. They have since gotten the vaccination. I didn't have to convince them. Actually, probably 90% of my living family from here to Texas and to California have taken the immunization. I was the first to lead off because Veteran Affairs in DC allowed us to go in February and get it. So my wife and I, she's a veteran, we both were in line, took our vaccination, set the stage for the others. I've had many family members that have taken, who have had COVID and survived. So that's even bigger challenge, because in their mind, those that are witnessing it says to themselves, well, if they survive it, I can too. And one of my nieces who had it, but great niece who has had it, she still hasn't gotten her immunization. She lives in Texas, and I was talking with her recently. I have a 14-year-old and two 12-year-old grandsons, and they've both gotten theirs to went along. And I think as a grandparent and as a parent, my concern with the vaccination is what is the impacts upon the children, and it goes both ways. I've had this conversation with people saying, well, it may have long terms, it may not, but I can share that if you're not alive, you have no long term. And that's what I share with folks. Hey, it's negative, positive. You understand the risk, you take the risk, and you think what you want to invest in, life or death. And so for me, I'm an advocate. Go get your immunizations, regardless of what it is. I'm over 65, and there's two that you are eligible for pneumonia that also decreases your risk. That's the PSV 13 and the PPSV 23. Those further reduce your susceptibility to pneumonia and other upper respiratory issues. So since I came in the Air Force and experienced that first immunization gun, I've been taking my, that was in 73, I've been taking my immunizations, traveled the world, had to get all kinds of immunizations. And I had the concern, yes, I have the concern what you're putting in your body and what's its long-term effect. But so far I'm here living and feeling pretty good. So I'm gonna continue to take my risk on getting the immunizations. Hey, thanks for listening. Have a great day.
Hey, thanks, Jesse. Appreciate that. And you bring up a very interesting point. If you have a family member who gets it and then they overcome it, then you're going to think, oh, well, and then you're going to maybe think, you may be biased, you may be like, oh, well, I'm in better shape than they are, and they were able to overcome it. Then if I get it, I may have some sniffles or whatever, but I'll get over it because my auntie, or my uncle, he was able to get over it. But you don't know what that viral load is that you may get compared to them. So
and you don't know your immunization system.
Right, exactly.
Just like a fingerprint, they're all unique.
All unique.
Absolutely. What I want to know is Jesse going to do a 40-mile bike ride again.
Okay. I knocked out 58 this week.
Man, that's what I'm talking about. And you bring, and that's a good segue.
I've been training for retirement.
Well, that's a good segue into awareness, being aware that, hey, if you're in better shape, then perhaps it'll fend off this virus. But again, it depends on the load that you get. So we're going to move into a short PowerPoint presentation right quick. I want to share this. Let me make sure that let's get hold on right quick. Stand by. Stop share. Okay. And share screen. Okay, here we go. So we're going to go through a few slides. Basically, I'm tasked to make sure that I'm increasing awareness and trying to debunk any myths that may be out there in terms of COVID-19. And it really aligns with this framework that I built called Strategic Energetic Transition. And the question is, are you set up for success or failure? in terms of your vaccination, in terms of potentially getting COVID-19? You know, maybe how is your household set up? You know, what is your workplace? What does that look like? What about your social life? Are you set up for success or failure? In my case, me and my wife, we're vaccinated. Our son just went off to college. He really didn't want to take the vaccination, but he was made to in order to get to college, in order to get in. But I have another family member who's defiant. She does not want to take it, and she feels like it's her body. She shouldn't have to take the vaccination. So that's something that I'm dealing with. As you can imagine, you know, I'm not in 100% good shape. I'm sure we all have some issues at this stage and this age in our lives. And, you know, you just never know. Like Jesse said, you don't know what you don't know at times. So there's some mixed feelings about, okay, her free will, but being around me and in the kitchen and here and there in close quarters in the same vehicle, you know, what keeps her from catching it out there with her friends and bringing it into our home? So again, the question is, are you set up for success or failure? And we'll discuss this once we get through these slides. The next question is it a problem to solve or a fact to endure? How would you solve the problem of your family members or your coworkers or your spouse, your kids? How do you influence? How do you effectively influence? You may have used rational persuasion, reasoning, logic, data, facts, science, but what if that doesn't work? So a question to consider, a rhetorical question: is it a problem to solve or a fact to endure? Now, this leads into one of my nonprofits. I'm a member of, well, I'm the executive director of Uplift Empowerment, in which the goal there is to empower and inspire beyond military life. And that's in addition to me being the chapter commander for the National Association for Black Veterans. But what we're going into now is the framework that was built for Uplift Empowerment. Last week, we had Jesse Citizen. He spoke on fitness, where now we're talking about awareness, the first A in facade. And we all know, us veterans, veteran spouses, you name it, we put up a facade like we're squared away, like we're dressed right dressed, like we're healthy, like there's nothing wrong with us, we're good, when in fact, that couldn't be further from the truth. And the fact is, you don't know your underlying condition sometimes, like Jesse was mentioning. So in order to empower and inspire beyond military life, we have to look at how we can reach out to our fellow veterans, our extended family, and expand awareness and eliminate the myths. So that is what the charge is in these conversations. Okay. So the next slide kind of goes into what you all may have heard or seen years ago by Donald Rumsfeld, former US Secretary of Defense, his speech on known knowns and known unknowns. And it goes, hey, there are known knowns. There are things we know that we know. We also know there are known unknowns. You know, these are some things that we know that we don't know. But then there are unknown unknowns, which can really relate to COVID-19 and the vaccinations and the implications. What are the long-term effects of it? Well, those are your unknown unknowns, the things that we don't know. And then perhaps that is what is causing vaccine hesitancy, because people are like, well, you know what? 10 years from now, you may grow extra toes, or you may have some type of event in which it'll be like an I told you so moment when everyone who took the vaccination is having these adverse effects. And when those who didn't take the vaccination, now they're sitting back saying, see, I told you you shouldn't have taken it. But again, these are unknown unknowns. So what we're going to do now is I have a few true or false questions, and you can come off mute to share what you think in terms of whether this is true or false. So true or false, COVID-19 vaccines contain microchips.
False.
False.
Okay, all right. That is false. That is false. COVID-19s do not contain microchips. Vaccines are developed to fight against disease and are not administered to track your movement. As you can imagine, you have people out there saying, no, they got chips in it. China's gonna track your movements. They just wanna know where you are, and they're gonna invade your privacy. Vaccines work by stimulating your immune system to produce antibodies, exactly like it would if you were exposed to the disease. And after getting vaccinated, you develop immunity to that disease without having to get the disease first. Okay, next, true or false? Receiving a COVID-19 vaccine will cause me to be magnetic.
False.
Okay.
False.
Okay. Yes. Vaccine. It's like, I think it's called vaccine shedding. It's a term used to describe the release or discharge of any of the vaccine components in or outside the body. But no, you do not become magnetic. True or false? It is not safe for me to get the COVID-19 vaccine if I would like to have a baby one day.
False.
False.
Okay. False. If you are trying to become pregnant now or want to get pregnant in the future, you may get a COVID-19 vaccine when one is available to you. And there's currently no evidence that COVID-19 vaccination causes any problems with pregnancy, including the development of the placenta. And in addition, there is no evidence that female or male fertility problems are a side effect of any vaccine, including COVID-19 vaccines. Now, as you can imagine, naysayers may say, okay, yeah, there's currently no evidence, but it hasn't been out long enough for us to really know, for us to really see if it's going to be a problem. Okay, I got a couple of more. Let's see here. True or false? The COVID-19 vaccine will alter my DNA.
False.
False.
Okay. COVID-19 vaccines do not change or interact with your DNA in any way. So again, that's false. And I think, let's see, this is the last one. Getting a COVID-19 vaccine will cause me to test positive for COVID-19 on a viral test.
False.
False. Yep. None of the authorized and recommended COVID-19 vaccines cause you to test positive. Now, again, these are questions, it's not all encompassing, but these are some questions that people have, some concerns that people have. I'm sure there's a longer laundry list out there, but I just wanted to share with you some of those that are out there to address.
So, hey, Dr. X, I put in 2 pictures that I took from an article this week.
Mhm.
And one of them, I dropped them in the chat box. One of them is saying, this is your brain on bias, and this is your brains on fact. And the other one talks about don't share misinformation with your friends. To help them understand what's going on. Basically it's saying follow the facts.
Yes.
Follow the numbers, follow the data, follow the fact but I found them pretty interesting and humorous at the same time.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate that. And if any of you all have any resources that you want to share, websites or pictures or anything like that, feel free to drop them in the chat box. So now we're going to quickly go through how to uplift yourself and others so that you are preparing yourself for success versus failure. 3 steps. First step is to identify the energy block or the trigger or the activating event that causes you stress, anxiety, disappointment, depression, grief. And these are the 6 that mess up the way that you show up. Again, if it's not an acronym, it does not exist in the military. So this is where I'm sure many of you all resonate with the acronym mess up. So when it comes to COVID-19 vaccinations and us being frustrated at the fact that we can't get others to see the importance of it, that can be mental, emotional, spiritual, social. It can be all of these or a subset. And you may not be aware of what universal means. Universal is a term that I built, and it basically talks about your space, like your physical space at home, at work, your environment, and your idea of time. So how is your environment? Right now, I'm in transition. We're building a home here in Columbia, Maryland. Right now, we're in a 3-bedroom apartment. So it's not like I can go somewhere and be far apart from those who are not vaccinated right now. So it causes more stress and anxiety. And as you can imagine, sometimes it can make a person angry because, okay, now you may be jeopardizing my health by not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So these are some things to consider. How is COVID-19 causing stress that mess up the way that you show up? And then step 2 is to analyze what energy level you are operating in and others. There's 7 energy levels. Level 1, you feel like a victim of circumstance. For example, I may feel like a victim because, okay, not everyone in my sphere of influence is vaccinated. And I'm trying to rationalize, I'm trying to use different influence strategies, and it doesn't seem to be working. Level 2 is instigator. Now you're ready to fight. You go from sad, woe is me, I lose, I'm a victim of circumstance, to, you know what, you're gonna take the damn vaccination. You got to. And so you get angry, you get frustrated, and you start lashing out. At level 3, you're the cooperator. You find a way to cooperate. You go from being defiant to being cooperative. At level 4, you become the tender lover. I don't know if you all remember that song by Babyface, Tender Lover. You become like concerned and compassionate, versus in level 2, you're just pissed off. Level 5, opportunist. Now you start reconciling your differences with other people. You come to peace and acceptance at level 5. Level 6, regulator. Now you have synthesis. There's joy. There's wisdom, depending on the situation. Then at level 7, you're your best self. You're non-judgmental, absolutely passionate for who you are and what you've become, and you start creating success, creating opportunities for yourself and others. And then last but not least, you got to make a command decision. Many of us, we know what this means. You have to make a command decision without a whole bunch of input at times. You may not need to, or you may not be allowed to have enough time and space to get too much input. And there are 2 types of support decisions. One is energetic, one is practical. So these, if you are able to put these at top of mind, you can pick and choose which one of these influence strategies do I need to use to influence myself and others. So I recommend starting with the R, reasoning, facts, logic, science. But after that, you may want to pick something else. Use a combination. Start with one, and then maybe move to another one. Okay, that doesn't work. Okay, I'm going to try to be friendly. I'm not going to try to be mean. Okay, that's not working. Okay, now I need to go to P, pressure. Okay, pressure's not working. Okay, exchange. If you get your vaccination, you know, I'll buy you a new purse. Okay, you know, that may work. So again, uplifter. That is a way to have different influence strategies top of mind that you can think about which one will work, which one do I want to start with, which one didn't work, which one is more effective, which one is efficient. So this is something to consider. So these are energetic support decisions, but I also have practical support decisions. And what this is all encompassing, this is like broad. For COVID-19 vaccinations, tax advice wouldn't really be applicable, but insurance protection is, okay? Are you protected? If something happens to me, the breadwinner, you're not gonna be able to afford that house that we're building. You're just not. There's gonna be some things that are gonna go awry if I go down, if I'm not able to earn. Physical fitness and nutrition, the P in uplifter. Entrepreneurship, that's something to consider because, you know, how do you, what if the job that you're in right now is putting you in harm's way? Perhaps you need to start thinking about, how do I start my own business that really aligns my passion, my purpose, and sets me up for success, like one of the earlier slides talked about. So again, I just want to go through that right quick. Thank you for your service. I appreciate your input thus far. And now what we're going to do, we have about 20 minutes and I want to open it up for open discussion. Anyone have anything?
I was just saying in the chat box that like, I don't know if you made those slides, those questions, but if you talk to the African American community, those questions aren't the questions. You know, and I was just looking at the CDC, like the number one, like my, you know, if you ask, like I just put in a question, I think I saw Jesse answered it, but the number one killer of African Americans is homicide. If you go from what 19 to 34, blah 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 blah. So those guys are more focused on the immediate kill versus a virus that may or may not kill you. So I'm saying if you want to try to convince the African American community to take it or not take it, A, don't invalidate their concerns. Don't make it, oh, no. You know, listen to their concern because some of the concerns are valid. But D, make sure that whatever the concerns are, you address those concerns from African American community, not from the white community. That's, you know, that's what my big concern about when we address this. Your thoughts?
Does anyone have any thoughts on what Tony just mentioned?
Pretty deep for this morning, Tony. I'm still reflecting on, but I mean, I see what you're saying. When you look at the hierarchy, Maslow's hierarchy of need, if you put it in this framework like that, I'll pick any framework. And Maslow's hierarchy of need is a management tool saying, when you focus upon it, at the bottom is physiology. When you focus upon being safe and survival, well, you can't think about the other levels of that pyramid that goes up to self-esteem, as long as you worrying about safety, physical safety, shelter, and so on. And yes, for many, that is a challenge. And that's where their focus is, on day-to-day survival and maintenance of life. So yes, that's a different approach. And that is a segment of our society. However, there are others out there that are surviving. And they're the ones I think is the bigger challenge, because they're above that level. And now you have to convince them that, yes, you're dealing with, you still have environmental factors in the dominant community or white supremacy culture that can shorten your life. However, if you don't take this vaccine, it can be shorter. So, I mean, and I've had some of those discussions. I traveled to my hometown, Texas, in late July. And believe me, I was talking to a lot of young folks that had we didn't recognize it as that, on what the conversation was, but that was the conversation when you, as I look back on it. So thanks for sharing that, Tony.
I would just like to add that I believe that Tony makes a great point, one that we need to consider. And Jesse, your example of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I think that's an excellent framework in which to take what Tony said into account. And it reminds us of the systemic racism out there, right, that we've been talking about, that COVID has brought to light. Okay, so this conversation that we're having right now, touches on all of that, and basically shows you how complicated this issue is, and the fact that you're getting all this resistance from certain segments of our society that are based on where they fall within Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So this is a very interesting conversation. I thank you all for your insights.
This is Annette. I'm not on video, Dr. Xavier, but I'm calling in. And I believe all three gentlemen had a good point, but I think that due to the point that where the African-American came from, according to when they first came back from Vietnam and so forth, that stigma is still there. But the way that you're educating and bringing it up and out is a great tool for them to understand how this concept came about. And they must let go of the past and take on this future that things are going to pop up, and they need to come to their community to get educated by. And the way that you're breaking this down, I think if we start spreading the word out into the community, even to events that we go to show them the statistic, then more people will start believing in it, and then it will manifest throughout the community.
Yeah, great point. Great point, Annette. There's a phone number, 540 number. Can you come off mute and share anything for the group? Who's at the 540 number? You're on mute. 540. Okay, you raised your hand. Okay, go ahead.
So yes, hi, I'm sorry. I hit *9 by accident, my apologies. This is Tina Smith. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I think this is an extremely complex topic, especially in Northern Virginia, where you have a great mixture of individuals who have their very strong opinions and sides concerning, vaccinated, not vaccinated. Is COVID even a thing? Getting the shot behind, maybe their friends' back so they could keep up the facade that maybe COVID isn't a real thing. And then also the key point, I believe, this day was, for me, stop spreading false information to your friends. And I think the sources in which we get our information and news, if we're not careful, that's the only thing that we're going to share, versus going and looking and researching items for ourselves and being able to share good information, but then also take the information that we receive maybe from one news source, compare maybe to others, excuse me, and then be able to take out, some of the things that may not line up all together. So I think the points made this morning hit home for me today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Tina. Appreciate that.
Dr. Bruce, I just like to say a lot of this is about education and awareness, because in a lot of the areas, these folks have a mindset where they can tell you how many ways they can't do something and not one way that they can. They're self-defeating. And so to me, the education and awareness is the biggest piece, because like the lady just said, there's a lot of false information out there, and due to ignorance on the part of some folks who won't do any research or look, read a book or whatever, they spread that information, not knowing, with no expertise or corporate knowledge of what's going on in the world and everything. And once it spreads, it just continue to spread. And so that's why this piece is very important.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Blanithia.
Hey, Dr. X.
Yes, sure, Dale.
Another thought that I had earlier when we were talking about those members of our families, our communities who take the position that they don't want to take the vaccination. One way that I kind of got myself to see it a little differently is that I thought about the fact that freedom is not free. And that one person's freedom ends where the next one's begins. So many times as we go about exercising our freedom, we do it without that understanding. So to the extent that we can get folks to buy into the fact that their freedom only goes as far as when their freedom starts to infringe on the freedom of others. So just a thought.
Great point, because part of me wants to say, look, you stay over there. Get away from I mean, I know it's a bit, terse, a bit, it's not kind, it's not warm and fuzzy, but part of me says, okay, and sometimes the same people don't like wearing their mask. So you have them not want to wear their mask and they're not vaccinated, but they want to be around you or in close quarters. How can you not feel some kind of way if you're, over, 40 or whatever, maybe have some underlying conditions, maybe have, high blood pressure or diabetes or something like that. But then you have someone who's in your household who feels like, oh, well, why do I have to wear a mask and why do I have to get a vaccination? So what this can really do is strain the family. It can cause a rift between family members. So any thoughts on that?
One thing again, it's about perspective. We like, they really pushing this COVID thing like it's the next Black Plague, and that frustrates because you know what? There are people out there dying by the flu. The flu. For a while, you imagine we used the same techniques when the flu came out, whatever. I'm not trying to be a naysayer, but we got to understand that 20 people are coming from. They're not coming from. We always say they're ignorant. Sometimes they're not ignorant. You got to sit there and dissect what they're saying and just saying, "No, you're wrong," because there are a lot more things out there killing us, but we're not talking about it. I've known my mom, everybody else. 4 people in my family died of cancer, but we ain't have no cancer lockdown or any of that kind of stuff. We're not taking the stuff that causes cancer off the shelf. We're not banning cigarettes. We're just sitting there finding a way to live with it. But for some reason, with the COVID, it's like they're making it as if it's like the next death, the next black plague. And if I had my choices, I would focus on something. If I was going to put that much energy, it would not be in COVID-19. I'm just saying. I know it's like a naysayer. I'm just saying and I'm vaccinated. My wife and I are both vaccinated.
Any thoughts on what I love the perspective. I love having different perspectives in the room. It's very important to have this type of conversation. Anyone have any thoughts?
And I agree with what Mr. Williams said because of the fact that a lot of people have argued that, you got lupus out there, you got gout, you got cancer that's been out there for years, been killing people for years. But then when this COVID comes up, all of a sudden, within the year, they got a cure, or antidote for it. So a lot of people are frustrated about that. But to share what you were saying about family and friends, my 15-year-old nephew called me in April and wanted to say, well, Auntie, can I come and spend my spring vacation with you? And I'm like, no, because Auntie's not entertaining guests, because Auntie have underlying conditions and Auntie is staying home because she wants to be around to tell the story after it's all said and done. And so then he was disappointed, but I would let anybody come, to visit me or whatever. And then 2 weeks ago, he called me and he said, well, Auntie, he said, can I come visit you because I get my shot on the 13th of August? And I'm like, well, that's a step forward. I said, yeah, you can come. Then he called the other day. He said, well, I want to come see you on the 20th of August. I said, well, when you get your second shot? And he said, well, I get it the 3rd of September. I said, I'll see you then.
You gotta give him about 10 days.
So, come on trying.
So I wanted to go back to what Tony said. And you know, Tony, to what you mentioned was those conditions that cancer, lupus, and someone else shares something. In my mind, here's how I look at them. And I have relatives who have died from cancer and those who have survived. You can't spread those.
Mhm.
And I go back to what Dale Dick said early on. There are several reasons to get immunizations. One is to protect yourself, and the others is protect others, whether they're in your family, your community that you're going to be around. So for me, that's where the difference is. And I don't minimize by any chance those things like smoking, drinking, drug use, underlying conditions, the cancers and so on. But those are things you choose. You don't choose those illnesses of cancer, but you choose to smoke, drink, and so on. And, you know, yeah, and then someone made discussion about rights. You know, John Donne said, your rights stop at the tip of my nose. Whatever that is, whatever I decide that tip of my nose is, that's where your rights stop. But Bionita, you said yours stop people coming in your house. You know, so and that's kind of my narrow perspective. We all do have them, but that's how I view in context of COVID when I hear those conversations is, yes, you're right. Stop at the tip of my nose. You can do whatever you want to do. As I once, if you want to carry coal in your mouth, COAL, if you want to carry that in your mouth, that's your decision. But don't think I'm gonna do it because you're doing it. So
Mhm.
Dr. Xavier, I think
Yeah.
also that it's that stigma of when it first came out. They talked about how Blacks can carry this. And that concept is stuck in a lot of people's head. And they thinking that they the only one who can really die by it. But they know that a lot of white are dying by it. But the key concept is to shoot that this is not true. This is how we maintain that death as toll for Blacks as, you know, individual. And we just got to keep emphasizing this. This does work. This how it works. And, you know, as I said, putting out your information will really educate them instead of just hearing that hearsay and that in-house lawyer that a lot of people deals with.
Hey, everyone, I'm gonna have to drop off, and I'm not spreading the rumor, but my wife was telling me she was reading where the Texas governor made an ignorant statement yesterday that Blacks are. I didn't see it in writing, so for me,
I saw it.
You did. That was just totally ignorant.
Oh, yeah.
Conversation that was building on what Annette said. So, hey, everyone, you have a great weekend. I have to get to another meeting that's starting at 9, so take care of yourselves. God bless.
Hey,
You
thanks,
too.
Jesse. And we have 5 minutes. We have enough time for maybe one more comment or remark.
What was the remark by the Texas governor, if you don't mind, Dr. X?
He said that the reason the numbers are high is because of Black people. The majority of the cases are Black people, and Black people vote. 90% of Black people vote Democratic, so Democrats are part of the problem as well. So it's more words. In a nutshell, that's basically what he was saying. The reason why, you know, there's a lot of numbers, a lot of COVID cases is because of these Black folks.
But
That
he
was
also
super ignorant.
said that as far as the unvaccinated, he has said that I think it's like 24% of African Americans, whatever, are not vaccinated. I mean, are vaccinated. So you know what I mean? So everybody right now, the narrative is the reason why we're getting all this COVID infection because of unvaccinated people. So he's trying to blame us because we're not vaccinated of why it's also spreading.
Yes. Thanks for filling that in. That's why.
What percent of the majority population is vaccinated?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
The challenge is like everything else. You know, you don't want to know the national number. You want to know your neighborhood number. So, you know, I want to know who's vaccinated in my county because I understand you're saying, that's the key. That, and then when you drill down, then you'll find out that for whatever reason, percentage-wise, not number, we keep confusing the number, not we, but the media keeps throwing conflicting numbers. Percentage-wise, it may be blacks, but number-wise, it's white. So you really have a better chance of getting it from the white people because there's more of them. Right?
That's a good point. Jerry, you had something?
Yeah, just a quick callous point. We all have to remember that the first law of nature is self-preservation, and that no piece of the puzzle is greater than the whole. And so I'm cold-blooded when it comes to my household. The man with the goal makes the rules. And if you are over 18 and you refuse to follow the rules of the house, you're out. And of course, I've got 3 sons, and I brought them that way. But fortunately for me, that's where I stand. You know, either you're part of the problem or you come, don't call, don't show. Love you to death.
Thanks, Commander Taylor. One more, was it you, Anna? I think you wanted to say something?
No,
Okay.
I didn't raise my hand. However, I do have a comment that I think all of this good information just encourages us and makes us aware of the importance of the fact of no matter where you sit, it's like, what is your sphere of influence? And we should take it as a very important responsibility to educate as many as we can from where we sit. Of course, none of us are being complacent about only being concerned about ourselves, but our veterans are out there, our sisters and brothers are out there, our communities are out there. And I would just like to encourage everyone from where you sit to be as influential as you can in sharing good information and encouraging as many of us as possible to be vaccinated and to be tested periodically. There are many opportunities out there, many locations where we can be tested. Although you have the vaccination, I would say when you know you've been exposed to other groups, you've traveled as I have, and you return home, you have folk in your home that you know that you cannot account for their exposure. Periodically, it's free. It's a simple test. Periodically, we should commit to being tested and sharing the word, dispelling the myths about the vaccinations.
Absolutely. Thanks.
And I'd like to
so
just chime in and concur that information also. And with my family, I believe from working within outward. And my biggest groups, of course, is my family and my veterans. So the information that was brought here today, I plan on, which I've done over since the virus has been in effect, has had Zooms with family members and friends. I have family friend night, and we have discussion and hear all the voices, positive and negative. Because if you just shut down, as you say, because at one point I was just pissed off, like you said, with those that weren't getting it, and had to get past that and say, okay, what direction can I put the information out without being so angry with those that weren't getting it, like just wasn't getting it. You wanted to bump them beside the head. However, the conversation, you have to leave the lines open, you have to have a communication, and you have to have facts, information. And as you were saying, whatever information you put out, have the facts to back it up as much as possible, 100% if possible. For those who think that, I'm just, these 30, 40s, I'm invincible, I'm not going to get it. Well, just like Jerry was saying, the rule of my house, you have to be vaccinated to come here, period. Like I said, my conditions are all respiratory. So even though I've had the shot, they have had breakthroughs. So again, get the vaccination, period. If you don't, door closed.
Yep.
Wave from outside the window.
Exactly.
Bottom line. But again, having those Zoom meetings with friends and family and with my veteran space, putting that information out is just so important. So continue to keep up the good work, everyone.
All right, thanks. The time is now 9:01 a.m. Thanks for showing up and being transparent. You will get these slides that I showed not too long ago, an e-workbook as well. And in the same email, you have a link in which if you want to be a guest speaker, you can be that in our future 1 hour of power conversation. So again, thanks again. Make it a great weekend. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be safe, everyone.